Welcome back. This is our next segment as COVID continues. And one thing that Barbara and I are seeing, I'm David Sanders, by the way,
Barbara Ellman.
but one thing Barbara and I are seeing more and more of is that couples are not really sharing in a timely way what is upsetting them. And then when they do share it, it almost feels like an explosion.
That's the word I was going to say.
Yeah. And we want to give some practical advice, best practices about how you
Yeah.
should convey to your partner what's going on for you, and either to avoid the explosion or when you really are wanting to communicate how upset you are, how to do that. So we've got some principles about that.
So the first one, which was implied in what David said, is we don't store up. Obviously, if it's a one-off and it happened one time, it's probably the wiser thing just to let it be. But if you begin to see that there's a pattern and you're beginning to notice you're upset by it, it is a wiser thing not to store up your complaints.
Because again, when you store them up, there's a lot of emotion that gets compressed, and then that compression is going to just blow up. And guess what? When you are that upset, how easy is it going to be for your partner to really hear what you're saying and be responsive, which is really what you want.
No, that's not really what everyone wants, David. Some people want to, and
Yes.
then they feel lousy afterwards. So in the moment, what they want is, I want to tell you what I feel about, and then afterwards they feel terrible and they feel alone. So what we're trying to do is offset the shame, the hurt, the dislocation, the separation of a couple, because in that moment is not the whole relationship. So in a best practice, in that awareness is, I'm not going to say, number two, I'm not going to say always or never, because always or never contaminates the relationship. How could that be true? You always and you never do X, Y, or Z. It's the state of my emotions that are making me say this to you. And now we're alienated from each other.
I had a couple, by the way, this morning actually, where where the husband says to the wife, "You're never on time," and the paradox was he was also complimenting her for being on time for the session. It's like you never. So again, to underscore that, never say never, and never say always. Okay.
And then the third is, as you're beginning to say what the phenomena is, in a perfect world, you would do it with neutrality, you would do it with description. We're not talking about those moments. We're talking about the moments is, I'm really upset. I'm upset is the I statement. And I'm just sharing now my state. Number three, I'm sharing my state, my feeling, which leads to number four, it is just my experience. I'm not talking about a global reality here. I can't. I'm so upset. I'm sharing my emotional state, my subjective reality.
And it's important also always, and this is yet another best practice when couples are communicating, leave open that what's your partner's experience. I'm upset and this is my experience. Leave open that what's going on for him or her. What's happening for her?
That is perfect, right? In a perfect world, I describe with neutrality. I make a direct, explicit request, like we talked about earlier. But today's little segment is about the person who is so upset, they're just going to scream. And even then, David and I are saying, there's a better way to do that. And the better way are these principles. The final piece that David just said, which is to be open to what your partner's subjective reality is, may not happen in that moment. But just be aware, at least, there is another human being who has a different reality. You may not get to it at this moment. That may have to be next time. I'd love to hear what my partner's experience is, but I got to get this out first. And if I do it the way we said, which is, I'm not going to store up all my complaints and hit my partner over the head. I'm going to, in fact, not say you always and never. I'm going to say a feeling statement. And if I'm judicious about it, I'll have an awareness that my partner has a different reality. We just may not get to that today.
Right. And were I able to get to that, I might not even have be getting so upset, and I would be able to say to the other person,
There it is.
well, before I tell you how I'm feeling, or I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling, but I also want to let you know, are you aware of what it is that you're doing that is upsetting me so much? That would be even an impressive way to approach that. But you're right, Barbara.
Yeah. It's this.
When it's elevated, the most we can do is hope that there will be some understanding on the other side.
Yeah. And also that may take, I know you have a different point of view, but for today, thank you for listening to how upset I am about this.
That's beautiful. To be able to have the presence of mind.
To thank your partner
Because
for
again,
listening.
no matter how volatile the issue is, you have to keep in mind what we've said before. This is a partnership.
Yes.
Right? You're a team.
Yes.
You got to work. You got to figure out how to work on this together. All right. Thanks. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Take good care.
Yes.
Bye.